Yes, I'm well, thank you. And you? Hope you're well. Glorious weather here today. It'll be a lovely weekend. I don't spend it all on the computer. Morning, Breeder. Sunny Waterford. Oh yeah, sunny there as well. Good, good, good. Oh, I'm just getting a bit of extra greenery ready because you never have enough for this little project. So hello, if you're on the if you're online. Tractor going by, sorry, a bit noisy. Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you for doing the den, you're welcome. Just wait for a few more to pop on and we'll get started. I'm leaving my garage door open because the dog is in the garden. I just want to make sure I keep an eye on him because you never know who's walking about. So I always get a bit paranoid if anyone could get in the garden and just steal her. So shouldn't really be. Morning, David. How are you? Right, let's see if we've got any more. Don't suppose there'll be too many today because it's a lovely hot day and you've got better things to do. But we'll crack on with this. With flower crowns, really, you just need to get as much of your foliage prepared, really. And you want to get rid of as much stems as possible. So that's all I'm doing here. Anybody else there? Say hello. Morning, Alison. Morning, everyone. That's Lizzie. There's Lizzie there. I'm just putting my flowers into little bunches. I'm going to cut a few more bits of chip as well, ready. Who else have we got? Anybody else? Any 10 this morning? I'm just getting all my little bits of flowers ready. Just in prep because it takes quite a while to do this. Get rid of all of those. Sat in the hairdresser's watching you. It's different. I could do with going to the hairdresser, but I've left my hair flat today because I want to show you the crown, how to do the crown on your head. And my hair's usually a bit more high than this, but I didn't bother curling it this morning. Morning, Caroline. There's Bella. She found a bird to bark at, probably. Right. We'll get started, I think, because otherwise it's unfair on people that have been here at 10 o'clock. So, the first thing you need to do is measure the circumference of your head, or the child that you're doing it for. I'll do it on mine, based on mine, but obviously you'd measure the person that you're doing it for. So you just go around the head with a piece of string or cord and just actually go tight to your head. So that will be the length. So cut it to the length, and that is the bit that you're going to have your flowers attached to. So I just usually stick it to the desk so I can see what I'm working against. So that's your length of flowers that you need to work with. Okay. So we're just going to put that on there. So all I've done is just taped it to the desk. Right. See? So I've just taped it one end. So that's what I'm working with. That I've done it in white so you can see it on the top of the black. Here we go. Watching from Papua New Guinea. Wow, Michelle, you're dedicated. Right, so then we need three three main wires. Now these are 16 gauge wires, so they're quite strong wires, and you'd probably need three of these just to get a good something to hold on to, so the flowers to bind to. Now what we need the strong wires to be the thickness of the length of the white tape. So bring them down, but you want the strength in the middle. So if you sort of stagger them a bit, so you want about 3 inches at the end, just one wire, and the rest of it just all bunched together in the middle. So you want your thin piece of wire just to go over the edge. So just make sure that the length of your wire, you've got about 2 or 3 inches either end of the thin wire. So you just want one bit of thin wire at the end. All right, so then we're going to just tape that together. There's different types of tape you can use. This is Stemtex, and I'm not quite sure what they call this one. This is the plastic version, which I like using because it doesn't get sticky, and this is the paper one, which does get a bit sticky. So I'm going to use Stemtex, which is this one, but there are various types. So just pin these together first. So just work from the middle, and you pull the tape as you work it. So just pull it, stick it, and then just hold it with one hand and twist it with the other. So you're just trying to, so you just pull in with this one, pull in, and just a little bit, don't snap it, just pull it to stretch it, and then just pull it and twist as you go along. Okay, so we'll work all the way to the end. So at the middle here I've got 3 pieces of wire, and then I've got going down to sort of 2 pieces of wire, and then at the end I've just got the 1 piece of wire, which is the bit where you attach the 2 together. All right, so just keep twisting all the way to the end. So you're pulling and twisting with this hand and twisting with the other hand. It's a bit fiddly when it's so long, but just keep going. What you can do is cut it off if it's easier, and just twist it and pull it all the way along. But you need it to stick to the wires, so you need to rub it with your other hands because that's what sticks it. Okay, so just keep twisting all the way to the end, and you can pull it off, and just seal it with your hands, because your heat from your hands will seal it. And then we just need to do the other side, because we've started kind of in the middle. So go back to the middle again, pull it nice and thin, grab it, and then pull and twist as you go along. And you're sort of sealing it with the heat from your hands. There we go. Nice weather today. It's going to be a nice lovely weekend, all weekend. Be nice. Morning, Suzanne. Okay, so then as you get to the end it gets a bit fiddly, so I've just turned it round because it's twisting all the way. Okay, so just keep twisting it. Try and keep it nice and tight all the way to the end, and then seal the end with your finger and pull off the end. Okay, so you've got a nice, so that's going to be your wire. The thickest part is obviously in the middle. Alright, but your finished result, this is the head circumference that I've got on the bottom, which is your white piece, and your wire needs to be a few inches longer on either end, so that's about right. Let me put that down so you can see. Just put that there so you can see. So I've got 2 or 3 inches this end of this is the head. This is my head circumference, the white one, and this is a little bit of wire either end. So I've got a piece either end. See? Okay. That's the best I can do to show you how to do that. I did put the white on here so you could see it a little bit. So then we start putting our leaves and flowers on. Now, if you were doing this to sort of exam standards or competition standards, you would actually wire every single piece of foliage and every single piece of flower. Most florists don't wire absolutely everything because it would be too time consuming, and you'd probably only charge £20–25 for something like this, and it's quite fiddling, it's a lot of work. So I've done half and half. So these ones I've already wired, and I'll show you how to do those. So I've got half wired, and I've got half not wired. And the stems on these are, you know, they're pretty good if you use ivy. This is why I use ivy, because the stems are quite good and they're free. Don't have to pay for these. So, but I'll show you how to wire them. So the wires that we use for wiring flowers and foliage, you need to get rose wires. These ones are called thin silver cut wires. They're about 7 inches long, and these are 26 gauge, which is the one of the thinnest gauges you can get. So I've got green ones as well. Buy big packs like this. So this pack is 28 gauge. This is 28 gauge, tiny little bit thinner. Real, all real today. That's why we're using wires and all real flowers today. So my wires I've just cut in half, because you don't need them any longer than about I don't know, was it about 4 inches? So I've cut mine in half, but otherwise you'd use a wire if you've got a little pack like this. I got these from Amazon yesterday, so you just buy them. They're just called rose wires, or just rose wires really. So the way you wire a ivy leaf, using the end of your thing, just push it through like you're doing a needle through the main stem at the back. So just through the main stem here. So you've got about half a centimetre. So I just weaved it through, and then when you're about halfway down, hold where you've pushed it through and pull the 2 wires down, and then hold the bottom of the top of the stem, and then just twist around with one of your wires. It's a bit like a double leg mount really, I suppose. So that's your wired. So we'll do a few of those. So get your wire. Maybe if I use a silver one, you might see it a bit better. I'll see if that's any better. Right, so there's your silver wire. So you get your leaf and just go in and out. Yeah, you can see it a little better there. In and out either side. Pull halfway through, and then hold where you've pushed it through, because if you don't hold it there, it will just rip the leaf. So don't hold it, go down, hold it at the bottom of the top of the stem, and just twist them round. So hold one and twist with the other. So there you have a little loop on the back woven into the leaf. Okay, so we'll do a few more of those. I use the silver ones because it does seem to be, you can see them better. So all that one's already done. Morning. So push through. There we go. So just, and then hold it where you've threaded it through. Hold it underneath, pull it down towards the stem, hold it at the bottom of the stem, and with one wire go around the other wire and the stem. There we go. So okay, so I'll do one more. So through, hold it at the back, pull it down, and then around the stem. There we go. Okay, so then we're going to stem text these like we did with the wire. We're going to cover these silver wires. We don't want to see the silver wires with your stem text. Okay, so just pull it nice and thin at the beginning, hold it at the top, hold it with one hand, and pull and twist with the other. So you're just covering it, making it look like the stem of the leaf. And what you're doing is you're sealing all the moisture in with. That's why we do this, because it seals the moisture in and it keeps it going for a bit longer. So I'll put that with the ones I've done. That one I've already done. So nice and thin at the start, hold it at the top, twist it round, hold it nice and tight, and then just twist your way down the stem. Pull in with one hand and the stem text, and then as you get to the bottom, just pull it off. Okay. So nice seal at the top, twist. This one. just a nice twist all the way down to the bottom. There we go. Okay, the other foliage that I'm going to use is soft ruscus. This is soft ruscus, just all the little tips, but I don't tend to wire these because they're nice hard stems. Again, if you were doing it for competition, you would wire each one, and morning Mel, and everyone would have to be wired, but because you're doing it commercially, it's a little bit different. And just say it's very time consuming. The other flowers that I'm going to use are cornflowers. These are grown in my garden, so I've just cut these this morning. There's a few that I've already wired, and I'll show you how to wire these. So corn stems have like this little sort of bud underneath, and it would be the same for a rose as well. I haven't got any roses today, but with your wire, you just feed through the corn, so you've got your wire going all the way through. Hold it underneath delicately, you don't want to damage the what, and then just pull it down. And I don't tend to twist around it, I just tend to just stem tex it then. So then again, just cover in your stem with the wires all the way to the bottom and pull off. Okay, so we'll do a few more of those. I will use the silver ones, but I think it's easier for you to see. So again, cut off all the buds. You don't want any of these buds in it, so just get in there. So with your wire through the centre, hold it, pull it down, get your stem tex ready, and just pull and twist as you go along. Okay. Do a few more of those. So you can see it's a very time consuming job, and when you price up for this for wedding work, you have to make sure that you charge enough money. If you've got 4 or 5 of these to make, and you can't make them too far in advance obviously, so you'll either get very quick or you won't bother wiring them. That's why these are a bit thin, so I would wire cornflowers because the stem is a bit thin. So through the middle, down, twist all the way down. Morning, Eileen. So we need a few more of these. That one's a bit delicate. That's okay. Right, so with your wire through the bud at the bottom, hold it tight, stem tex at the top, hold it nice and tight, and then pull and twist all the way down the wire. Pull at the end. There's a nice one. Okay, we don't need this much stem, so we can get rid of some of the stem. Through the middle. Just make sure that you're sealing it with your fingers as you go down. That's too long. So twist all the way down. That's it. I've got a few spares there if I run out. Right. Okay, so we've got our soft ruscus greenery, and we've got our ivy greenery, so we're going to use those. We've got our cornflowers done. I've picked a little bit of lavender, so these are just lavender sprigs. I'll put these in straight as they are, they don't need to be wired. Morning Bernadette, yes, all real flowers today. These are cut from, so just little buds of lavender. I've got some lysianthus, just like a couple of stems of lysianthus. So we want some buds, some open flowers because that's going to fill out quicker, and some buds, and some of the tiny little buds, because these will all add. If they're a bit droopy, just get rid of them. We don't want anything droopy. That one's a bit droopy as well. So we want the little buds as well. Alright, so I've got a mixture of those, and I've got gyp. I've just cut a load of little sprigs of gyp, which I'm just going to feed in. Again, if you were doing it for competition, you'd wire every single thing, but because we're doing it for, I'm just going to give this to a little girl down the road today, because her mum gave me a lot of foliage the other day, so I thought it'd be nice to give her a little summer headdress. I'm sure she'll like to wear it. Okay, so we've got some of that, and I've also got a few little bits of freesia, which I'm going to put in. I've already wired those ones, but I'll show you how to wire freesia. So with freesia, let's cut it off. We'll get rid of this one because that one's already spent. The first one is the spent one. So it's the first flower that's grown, so it's the first flower that will die. Get rid of any hard pieces that you've got there where it's joined. And I would wire these because they're a little bit flimsy. I'm going to use the silver one again just to show you better. And what I tend to do is go down through the last two buds, put the wire through just to give it a bit more strength. Twist the two down, and then Stemtex that. Tape it. And I say, the first time you do it, you'll probably break a few flowers, but you do get better at it, and you don't break so many after a while. Now, if it's one like this, I would use the first flower as a bud on its own, and then use this as another one. So get rid of all of that hard join there. You'll probably cut the flower head off. It doesn't matter really if you want to. Actually, if you want to, just take that off. Get rid of that because it's quite a bit lumpy, that bit. Again, with your wire, go down the middle. Just twist it. And Stemtex it. And with this one, obviously, we've just got the flower bud, because it's a big one, we can just go straight through the bottom of the flower. So just go through the bottom of the flower. It's a little bit more delicate, so just be careful. Hold it as you bend it. And then with this, I would just go around the bottom of the flower as well. So you're just securing it with the wire so it stands up. So you'll get to know each flower as you do it. Some need a bit more strength, as it's a single flower. It doesn't have a lot of strength. It's got no stem as such, so but you can see that's quite strong, standing up. So you can do that with those. I'll do a few more of those. That one's a bit droopy, so don't use anything that looks a bit soft. So that one's okay. So through the bottom, bend, hold. Just go around the bottom of the flower so that it stands up. And then pull your tape, get it nice and thin, twist it, join together, and just twist it all the way down. Okay, then we're going to use those ones with the little buds that we had there. Just going to go down the middle of this one, hold it. There we go. And pull. There we go. Alright, so you've got the gist of that as well. As I say, if you've got any thin ones like this, you could probably put them straight in because it's another nice thin wire, so we'll just add those ones in as well. And I've got some little buds there, that'd be quite nice just to add in. So we'll have those. Get rid of all your stems that you don't want. Try and keep your desk as tidy as you can. Okay, so we'll get started. So we've got our wire, and we're going to start by putting we're going to have a little bow at the back, like you saw in the picture. I'm going to use this nice bright pink bow because I thought it was quite nice for a little girl. So just making 4 loops in a bow, leaving enough for your trail at the bottom. So we'll leave it quite long. So 1, 2, a bit big. Don't want them too big, otherwise it'll be too floppy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it in the middle and make sure that you've got the same length on the other side. Cut a nice, and then we're just going to pinch that in the middle. I'm actually going to tie that with a little bit of tie, which I've got a little bit from the white bit that I had from earlier, so I'm just going to tie that with a little bit of, you could wire it, but it gets a bit bulky sometimes, so I'm just going to tie that off. Go around twice because it's not very thick this. Okay, so that's your little bow. And then we're going to attach that to the bottom of where your flowers are going to start. What gauge wire? I've already put it in there, darling. 26, 28 for the main, for these small ones that you're putting through the flowers, and the main one is 16, 18 gauge that you'd use. So I've got three bits of 16, 18 gauge here. I've staggered them, so I've just got one single piece at the end of each. The length, and that needs to be 2 or 3 inches longer than the length of your, if you go back to the beginning, it explains it better at the beginning. All right, so basically that's the length of the flowers I'm going to do, but you've got about another 2 or 3 inches of one thin piece of wire at the end, and the thicker wire is in the middle. All right, so we're going to start by putting, we're going to put our bow on first. We're going to attach our bow to the start where your flowers are going to go. So we can just tie this on. You can tie it on with the string that you've got. Just make sure it's nice and secure. Tie it a few times round. This is just florist ribbon, a very thin piece of florist ribbon. But make sure it's tied on properly. It's my neighbour coming in with his car. So I've got the garage doors open today. And then tie that off. Cut that off. So that's going to be the start of your flowers. So that's going to, if you like, that's going to be your end. So make sure it's the right direction. You want your trails to be at the end. So that's going to be the end of your. So then we're going to start here. So we're going to start where the wire is going upwards. So that's the bit where you're going to join the two together. Okay, so we're going to start here. So move it around. So first thing we're going to use is probably a ivy leaf. So put the ivy leaf down. Just enough to cover the beginning of the, where your bow is. Now we're going to stem text them two together, take them together. So we just get it started first. So just join that first leaf. Okay. Join the two together. Go all the way down the stem. And that's your first flower. So, okay. Right, so that's your first stem of foliage on. So then we'll go with we'll try a bigger flower. And obviously you're going to have your front and your back. So your front is going to be where your bow is sitting on the top. All right, so we're just going to do the first flower. So we use a Lizzie. Again, just twist it as you do it, all the way down. But you can do it, you could take the can take the, it'll be alright in a minute. Sometimes it gets in the way a bit, the bow, but that's fine. So we've got our first flower and our first leaf. So then we'll put in some gyp. Now if you just use gyp on its own, obviously you get a really full. So I've just put a bit of gyp either side of the flower, moving it down a little bit. And we'll join that one. Get rid of all your long stems. You don't need to have all those long bits in there. And if you've got any little lumpy bits from the gyp, any little joins, just join that. So as you're going along, you're strengthening it, because each time you're binding over, you're binding over. So then you'll go from either side. We'll have a bit more greenery in. So I've got a little bit of soft ruscus either side, and we'll put a little freesia in. So we'll do those. You can do 2 or 3 bits at a time. Don't have to do each one singly. But when you first start, you probably need to do, a few more singly. Try and cover all your mechanics. You get the odd little bit of wire sometimes, but don't worry about that. But you can see as you're going down, it's making it thicker and stronger. Okay. So again, more gyp to fill in. This will make it grow quicker. Come down, and maybe we'll put a little cornflower in, so the cornflower can go on the top, and then we'll take those ones. So if you've got any spare bits that you don't need, just get rid of them. Any stems that are getting in the way. So you can see it's starting to come together. So you just build up all the way along. Oh, we've got some little chrysanth daisy blooms as well. I'm going to put a few of those in. So I'll put one either side, and I'm going to put a few ivy leaves behind it, just to give it a bit of structure. So you can see, it's how you do a corsage as well, really. So the leaves at the back are adding in structure behind, and they're protecting the flowers at the front. So okay. So just move them so they're protecting. So that's it so far. So they're going down. So then we'll have a bit more. Couple of bits of soft ruscus. So you put soft ruscus down first. Oh, we haven't used any. Got some lavender as well. That will make it smell lovely. So we'll put some lavender in as well. I think what I'll do is I'll take the greenery on first. Trying to jump ahead a bit here, so just take a bit of green first, and then we'll put some lavender in. You can use about 4 or 5 bits of lavender just to give it a nice fill it out a little bit, and we'll put another little. So I've got a bit of lavender around the sides, and Lizzie. And then we'll take that. It's a little bit fiddly, so you just have to have a practice. Practice with a corsage first, that's a good thing to do. Do a corsage first, and then you can move on to doing all of these. Already you can see we've moved quite a way down. Because you've wired it, they will move. Morning, Linda. So do a few more ivies now, a bit further down. it's almost like you're putting the mechanics at the back, which includes the ivy, and then the flowers will go on top of that. So the flowers will all be at the back, and you don't want anything sharp because that's going to be against somebody's head, especially a little girl. So the flowers here, so then we'll lay some more flowers on the top. We'll put another cornflower in. Actually, I'll put some drip first. Put some drip in. And then our cornflower. Take that. Just do a couple of things at a time, and then it'll make it easier for you. All the way to the ends of the wires that you've added the additional flowers are following. There we go. See how quickly that's coming along? And I'll put a few more. A few freesia on. The end of those ones just to seal those wires in. There we go. Alright. So now we need to back that up again, so we'll have a bit more Sophroscus. Some more gyp. Because the gyp really does help to. So if you put the gyp on top of the Sophroscus, feed it through. There we go. Right, and hold that. Interesting tricks. A little sharp bit there. It's probably one of the bits of Sophroscus. There's another bit there, so just make sure you cut any sharp bits off because you don't want anything sharp. I'm just going to go over that again just to seal those bits in. Okay, so again you can see it's coming along nicely. Hey, Mum. So we'll have a few more ivy leaves now. We'll take those on. So that's just your background. Some more ivy. That's not ivy, gyp. All quiet on here. Anyone saying anything? No, it's all quiet. Everyone's just watching. Okay, so then we'll put some more buds on top. So your gyp and your the gyp and your leaves at the back are your structure, if you like, and then you just add the flowers as you go along. So put a few little buds on there. So you need to have quite a lot of stock prepared, quite a lot of, and you'll probably use more than you think. I may or may not have enough here, so hopefully I've got enough. There we go. Yeah, you can see it coming along. Taking it all in, good. I'm getting hotter and hotter here. I did have a fan on, but it's a bit noisy, so you probably wouldn't. So just have a look at your flowers. Obviously we've got a cornflower here and a cornflower here, so we probably need one about here now as well. So just try and make sure that you're doing it as even as possible. It really won't notice, to be very honest. No one's going to say, oh, there's a flower missing there, so don't worry about it too much. But if you're using a striking colour like a blue, then just try and do it as even as possible. They'll just be so enamoured with what you've done that they won't notice that you haven't got, you know, the right colour flower in the right place. So don't worry about it too much. There we go. But you can see there the blue flowers are sort of even. I always worry, particularly in this heat, about leaving it till last minute, then running out of time. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it, Sharon? Yeah, things like this, they take time. You just have to manage your time, unfortunately. And that is the bane of most florists, because everybody wants everything fresh. And on a hot summer's day, it can be a problem. It can be a problem. I've got a little wedding on Tuesday, just a couple of villages away, which is nice, just nice and local. And the lady wants, we've got to do a tent bar, and of course you can only do it all on the day because it's all fresh foliage and fresh flowers in tubes. And I probably will use a bit of, she's not that fussed about not using foam, so I will use a bit of foam. Yes, so it's all last minute, and there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to learn to work with it, and that is, you know, one of the banes of the job, really. You can only prepare so much, so it's handy when they say, well, I'll have 20 wreath arrangements with the lanterns in, so you think, oh, that's fine, because I can do all those like days and days in advance. But certain things you can't do in advance. So, morning, Karen. Looks beautiful again. Love the cornflower. Yeah, just needs I thought it'd be just nice with a little bit of blue in it. So I've been growing them in the garden, so yeah, I'm pleased. A few things are growing now. Got no dahlias yet, mind you. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some. Right, so I'm just going to put some few more buddy bits up here and some chip. Again, I mean, ideally you do each individual one separately, but it just takes hours, and commercially you'd never make any money if you did that. So you have to do a few little shortcuts along the way. There we go. So we're getting there. So now a few more ivy leaves at the back. The ivy leaves are great because they're nice and strong. They give it a good structure at the back and make it a bit softer on the head, which is nice. I don't want it to be uncomfortable. Not that if they're with flower girls, they tend to have them on for the photos, and then they tend to get abandoned for whatever weddings I've been to. So it gets a bit more difficult as you go up, so just try and put it up against something. Or you can work down. Probably better to work down, actually. But then you can't see what I'm doing, so it's a bit more difficult. So 2 more ivy leaves on the back, and because they're wired, they go exactly where you want them to go. And we'll have some more jip to fill out. Got time for another cornflower? Oh no, we'll have a bit of put a bit of lavender in now. We haven't had lavender for a little while. Just a few bits of lavender, make it smell nice. And a little lizzie bud. It's almost like doing little sort of corsages along a main stem. So if you haven't done this sort of wiring sort of work before, do practice with corsages. Make some little buttonholes or corsages. So from the back, all you should be seeing is the leaves. And as I say, if you wire them, you can see the wiring, all of those at the back. It's nice and soft on the back, so just make sure that's what's happening. And have a bit more sulfurascus. few ivy leaves. Just back it up again. And practice with the different types of Stentex as well. This is the plastic one, which I find much better, and it doesn't stick to your fingers. I find the paper one sticks to your fingers a bit more. You get all sticky. I don't like that. There we go. So you can see, so if you measure it, if you're not sure if you've gone too far, I mean, I know I've still got a little bit to go yet, but just measure it from where your bow is on your little line on here. So I know I've got about another 3 inches to go, so I'm always getting there now. So have some more chip. Quite a good way of doing it is if you lay the flowers first, then lay the jip, and then lay your main flowers on top. And I think it's about time for a cornflower now. Have I got any more wired ones? Yes. So that's about even. Okay, so again, just hold it there and tape all of those in. Tape on. And so the main reason we use tape is because it keeps the moisture in. So if you can have time to wire and Stentex each one, it will keep the flowers just that little bit longer. But as I say, most people just have them for the day, so you can get away with some wiring. You don't need to wire everything. So I've got my chip there. No, we haven't used these little daisy flowers. There's a daisy flower again. As I say, it doesn't really matter. People aren't going to notice that you haven't got each flower 100% even. You know, it's not. If you've got any flat stems, get rid of them. In there, slowly. A few more leaves at the back. Have some more soft ruscus. And if you get soft ruscus certain times, you get all these little berries on the end as well. I think it's winter time that you get the berries, if I remember rightly. Sometimes it comes with all these lovely berries on it. It's really pretty. So we'll put a couple of ivies at the back too. Take those. Just go all the way to the end of the stems that you're adding each time, so you'll make it nice and strong. Okay, so what have we got left? Got some freesia. So I'm starting to measure this now where my bow is at the beginning of my white line. Yeah, I've got about another 2 inches to go. We'll have a bit more lavender in here because that smells divine. A bit more Lizzie. And a bit of jip. But you can add whatever flowers you like. If you just make this with jip, which I'm just going to put the jip behind because it does look better. It gets a bit awkward at the end because it keeps wanting to twist round, so you just have to keep trying to keep it straight. So. We'll do it this side and then we can show the other side. See, I've got a big lump there. We don't want all these lumps. We'll get rid of all these unsightly bits. How do you know what size to make? If you go to the beginning of the Go to the beginning of the video. I didn't tell you. I measured this white bit is the circumference of my head, so I cut it exactly to the circumference of my head. So that's how I did it, and then you leave a little bit extra wire on the end to join. So now I've got the ribbon at the top of my white line, and I've the other end here. I've got a few more bits to add on. So probably another section of flowers, and then more or less be there. Foliage on. Okay, let's turn it round. Keep wanting to twist a different way, so that's why if you wire the back of it, at least you've got that to you can manipulate it a bit. So my ribbon was here. So yeah, just a few more flowers. Need a little bit more jip. Jip on. And then, oh, it's got another fuchsia here, let's use that. Should put another little cornflower at the end, because I have wired them, I might as well use them. There we go. So just twist, go right up to the top where they're all joined, and then pull and twist all the way down, covering all those odd wires. I'm travelling, so I'll have a wee look now. Oh, okay. Right, so the start where my ribbon is right at one end of my white line, which is the circumference of my head. So I've just got one more set to do, and then we're there. So it's a good job. I just had about, you need about roughly 20 ivy leaves. I did 20, I think, so I've just about got enough for my head. So if you were doing a child, you probably wouldn't need quite as many. And again, the same amount of soft ruscus, and let's put some little daisies in there, a little bud. And then just finish it off with a few more sprigs of jip. Nice big bit there. Finish that off there. There we go. So this is the last piece, and we've got quite a lot of stems there, so we can trim some of those through. You're going to need a bit to wind in at the end. I'm just going to cut this off a bit easier. Just make sure they're all secured. That last little bunch is all secured in. Which it isn't at the moment, so I'm just going to put a bit more. Start again a little bit. I think the tape kept cut in there, so we'll put it nice and tight, just to secure those last few bits in. And there we are. So let's the desk off a bit. So that is a headdress which should fit me, so we'll test it in a minute, see if it does. Because I did the circumference to my head. So I'm going to give this to a little girl, so I will make it a little bit shorter later. So at the back you should just have all your leaves, just the leaves at the back, and all your flowers should be on the front. So you can manipulate it a little bit. That's why if you wire some of it, it gives you a little bit more freedom to move stuff about a bit, should you need to. So then we're going to bring our two ends together. And you're going to just twist the ends around and then just feed them through. And you want to make sure that the end of the wire is poking up with your up flowers, your flowers on the top side, if you see what I'm doing. And then your bow can trail down the end. And move these forward a little bit. Just twist your wires around. You want to try and hide it into your flowers. And move your bow so it's in the middle. So you have to manipulate the flowers a little bit. Pull them backwards and forwards a little bit. So these ones that you've wired are so important because they're going to hide any of the mechanics at the back. Sorry, I'm getting a bit hot here. It is very hot here today. So use the flowers to manipulate where you've joined it together. And then your bow can go at the top. Long bits down the end. And then just make sure that you've got the flowers all on the outside. Just go all the way around, making sure that your outside leaves are bending round. You have to manipulate it a little bit. Make sure any of your flowers are poking up. All your flowers are poking upwards. And that is it. And I'm going to put it on my head now so you can see what it looks like. There we go. I haven't put one of these on my head for a long time. And that's it. That's how you make a flower crown. I hope you liked it. I can't really show you it from the back. You could do long ribbons as well if you wanted to. You could have really long ribbons at the back. But that basically is how you make a flower crown. I hope you liked it. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye.